If someone had told me that my life would turn upside down in just a few months, I would have laughed. After all, I had everything I ever wanted: an amazing husband, a cozy home, and the certainty that I had found true love. Daniel was the kind of man any woman would dream of having. Attentive, charismatic, successful. From the day we met, he made it his mission to show me how special I was. Unexpected gifts, surprise trips, heartfelt messages. I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. Our wedding was perfect. A fairy tale setting, a flawless dress, an emotional ceremony, and that passionate gaze he kept on me the entire time. When we said "I do," I truly believed it was forever. But happily ever after didn't last as long as I had imagined. At first, they were just small things. Details anyone would overlook. A missed call late at night. A distant look when I asked about work. A rushed excuse to avoid certain topics. I wanted to believe it was all in my head. After all, Daniel was my husband. The man who had vowed to love and protect me. But deep down, something told me I was wrong. And I was about to find out in the worst way possible. In the days that followed, the unsettling feeling inside me grew stronger. I tried to go about my life as usual, to ignore the thoughts that haunted me. But then, the signs became impossible to dismiss. It all started when Daniel began coming home late from work more often. At first, he said he was overwhelmed with meetings. But over time, his excuses started to sound inconsistent. I have to travel this weekend for a conference. But when I checked the company's website, there was nothing scheduled. I forgot my phone at the office. But every time he walked through the door, he would turn off his phone immediately. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe that all of this was just a coincidence. Until one random night, everything changed. Daniel was supposed to be at work, but when I glanced out the window, I saw his car parked across the street. My heart skipped a beat. He was right there. But why wasn't he coming inside? I pressed my hands against the glass and watched. After a few minutes, he finally stepped out of the car. But before crossing the street, he looked around, as if checking to see if someone was watching him. A chill ran down my spine. He opened the front door quietly, as if trying not to make any noise. When he finally stepped inside, he found me sitting in the living room, pretending I hadn't noticed anything. "You took a while," I said, testing his reaction. He forced a smile. "Yeah, traffic was terrible." Traffic. But his car had been parked outside for at least 20 minutes. My stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. And I needed to find out what it was. The bad feeling grew stronger every day. Daniel kept making excuses. He left early, came home late, and avoided looking me in the eye. I knew he was hiding something. I just didn't know what. The answer came in the most unexpected way. That Saturday morning, he went out for a run. I stayed home and, as I passed by our bedroom, I saw his phone charging on the nightstand. Daniel never left his phone unlocked. But that morning, whether by mistake or overconfidence, he forgot. My heart pounded as I picked up the device. The messages were deleted. The call history was wiped. But in his emails, something caught my attention. An unknown sender. Reservation confirmation, hotel room for 2. A cold shiver ran down my spine. The hotel was just a few blocks away. And the reservation date? That very night. My hands trembled. Part of me wanted to believe it was a mistake. But the truth was staring me in the face. Daniel had a secret. And that night, I was going to find out the truth. I couldn't just pretend nothing was happening. I needed to see it with my own eyes. At 9 o'clock, I slipped out of the house without making a sound. My hands were sweaty on the steering wheel as I drove to the hotel. Each beat of my heart echoed in my head. When I arrived, I parked away from the main entrance and watched. People coming and going. Couples, business travelers, tourists. And then he appeared. Daniel walked briskly through the lobby. He stopped at the front desk, exchanged a few words with the receptionist, and picked up a keycard. My chest tightened. I couldn't wait any longer. I walked into the hotel and headed straight for the elevator. The panel showed that someone had just gone up to room 306. I made my way down the quiet hallway until I reached the door. I took a deep breath. Then I knocked twice. Silence. I knocked again, this time harder. Footsteps. A muffled sound. The doorknob turning. The door opened just a few inches, and Daniel's face appeared. The shock in his expression was all I needed to confirm it. "What are you doing here?" His voice wavered. I didn't answer. My eyes shifted past his shoulder, and that's when I saw. At the back of the room, someone else was there. It wasn't a woman. It was a man. And just like that, my world fell apart. I couldn't breathe. The shock froze me in place for a few seconds. Daniel was still standing at the door, staring at me, as if searching for an explanation. But there was nothing left to say. Behind him, the man in the room watched us in silence. Tall, dark hair around Daniel's age. There was something in his eyes, something that made me shiver. My instinct screamed at me to run. But before I could move, Daniel grabbed my arm. I can explain, his voice was low, almost pleading. I yanked my arm free, feeling a mix of rage and desperation. "Explain what? That you've been lying to me this whole time? That our entire life together was a lie?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking nervous. The man behind him remained completely still, as if he was waiting for something. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just a betrayal. This wasn't just a secret. There was fear in Daniel's eyes. Suddenly, the man in the room stepped forward. He didn't look surprised to see me. If anything, he looked prepared. "I think you should come inside," he said, his voice eerily calm. A chill ran down my spine. No. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. My heart pounded in my chest. If I stepped inside that room, I might not come out. So without thinking, I took a step back, then ran. I heard Daniel calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I flew down the hotel stairs as fast as my legs could carry me and burst through the front doors. I didn't stop until I reached my car. My hands were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to start the engine. When the car finally roared to life, I sped off without looking back. I had no idea what had just happened. But I knew one thing. I needed to get out of Daniel's life. Now. I drove aimlessly, the city lights blurring past me. My chest rose and fell in shallow breaths, my mind spinning in 1,000 directions. Nothing made sense. Daniel had betrayed me. But it wasn't just that. He was involved in something bigger. Something that made him afraid. Something that, somehow, put my own safety at risk. My phone vibrated on the dashboard. Daniel. I didn't answer. It vibrated again. And again. Then, a message. Please, we need to talk. It's serious. Let me explain. My first instinct was to block his number. But a part of me hesitated. I wanted answers. I wanted to understand who the man I married truly was. After driving for nearly an hour, I pulled over onto a deserted street and rested my head against the steering wheel. What was I supposed to do now? I could disappear. File for divorce, cut all ties, and start over far away from him. But what if this wasn't just about betrayal? What if he was really in danger? My mind screamed at me to run. But my heart still wanted to understand. I took a deep breath and, against all logic, I typed a response. Tomorrow. One last meeting. In a public place. After that, you will never see me again. The read receipt appeared almost instantly. Okay. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I promise you'll understand everything. I deleted the conversation and turned off my phone. I didn't know if this was the end or just the beginning of something even worse. But one thing was certain, after tomorrow, my life would never be the same. The next morning, I arrived at the cafe before the scheduled time. I picked a table in the corner where I could see both the entrance and the busy street outside. My hands were cold. My leg bounced uncontrollably. Daniel arrived right at 10 a.m. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and an expression I had never seen before, fear. He sat across from me and ran a hand through his hair, as if struggling to find the right words. Thank you for coming, he said, his voice tense. I crossed my arms. Just talk. No more lies. He took a deep breath and began. I never wanted to hurt you. But there are things you don't know about me. He told me that the man in the hotel room wasn't a lover. He was someone from his past. Someone he had tried to leave behind. I was involved in something years ago. Something illegal. And now he's back, demanding a debt I never paid. A chill ran through me. What kind of debt? Daniel looked away. Money. Information. He wants me to do something for him. And if I don't, he'll come after you. My breath caught in my throat. What? What does this have to do with me? Daniel grabbed my hand tightly. I saw desperation in his eyes. Because he knows you're the only thing I truly love. He knows that if he wants to control me, he can do it through you. I yanked my hand away and stood up, a mix of anger and fear surging through me. So you dragged me into this? You kept this from me this whole time? He got up too, his eyes pleading. I only wanted to protect you. I swear I'll fix this. I'll disappear from your life if I have to, but you have to promise me one thing. What? I asked, feeling a lump in my throat. If anything happens to me, don't try to find me. My eyes filled with tears. Daniel. He forced a sad, almost resigned smile. You've always been strong. Be strong now too. Before I could respond, he leaned in, pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead, then turned around and walked away, vanishing into the crowd. I stood there, frozen, heart pounding, unsure if this was a final goodbye or the beginning of an even bigger nightmare. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, imagine how many more are waiting for you. Don't miss the next one, like this video so more people can enjoy it, and subscribe now to keep learning English with real, emotional stories. Who knows what's coming next?